Hi, these are my initial thoughts on a Freelancer's Cut, an entry point remake using a new Operator's gameplay system. Now, if you don't know what entry point is, it is essentially a fusion of Hitman and Payday 2. You have the stealth gameplay of Hitman where you do the objective silently without anyone knowing, and you can disguise as your enemies to make the job easier and complete your tasks without a single enemy knowing. Or, you can take the loud route and shoot up everyone, Payday 2 style. Different methods, almost the same results in the end. Then there's Operators, a new Sea Chateau game, if I pronounce that wrong, let me know, that so far has 3 free missions to play through as a demo, available now on Roblox. The game has the same idea as Entry Point, but it has new gameplay, which is what this remake was for. Operators introduces new gameplay when it comes to the stealth, as disguising isn't as easy anymore. You can't just knock a guy and strip his clothes off, you have to find a card to disguise. And there's negotiations now, so you can negotiate your way to the objective if needed. Freelancer's Cut essentially serves as a testing ground for operators, which is fine, and honestly, I'm excited to see what operators can offer in the far future. But right now, we're talking about the entry point remake, Freelancer's Cut. So let's begin the actual video. There is now a safe house that you can roam around in, which is nice, and friends can appear so you can do silly things while waiting for your whole group to appear, or something like that. I don't know what else you have to do in the safe house. Over here by this desk is a new contact network, which is how you're going to be unlocking most items in the game with the new currency, credibility. Either it be training points or operator slots, or modifications for items. Basically anything in the game, as you can see while I'm scrolling through this network. Training points are a new way to level up. As you can see, I'm level 17 and I only have 17 skills unlocked. As of recording, this level cap is 22 with a limit of 1 specialization. The new skill tree, in theory, allows you to be every class in the game, excluding specializations, as you can see with the limit right there. But as of recording this, I am completely unaware of the future level cap. Well, how do you gain credibility? By doing missions, of course. If we use the deposit as an example, you can see that there's a new challenge tab, which is how you can gain credibility by doing challenges, and it's unique to each difficulty. This is great as it gives the easier difficulties some replayability, and it provides a reward for those who likes to do silly things like not disguising or not hitting anyone ever. Of course, if you hate doing challenges, there's the option to buy credibility outright. In this footage, you can probably see by now there is only 3 difficulties. Say goodbye to Professional and Elite difficulty. A new gameplay, as mentioned before, you cannot just knock a body to disguise. You must find a card to disguise into the guard clothes, so it makes things a little harder to work with, but it's fine. Because there's new systems that make up for it, such as negotiations. You can negotiate your way to a trespassing area, and then there is a new hacking system where you pull this cool little tablet, and you can pop some stuff there, which is cool. And then there's the most important part, customization. I did not bother to check, but I am 100% sure that you can get your exact old entry point codename in this list. I wouldn't know, I got mine. But you also have the option to rename yourself, which is pretty cool. There is now an option to add highlights to your hair, which is very nice. That's all that I can list that Freelancer's Cut has changed so far. As far as I'm concerned about the customization, there's definitely a few missing accessories, but it is roughly still the exact same customization system, still the same hairs. I'm not going to drag this part any longer, just because it's just customization. The weapons are pretty much the same. You can still modify them, put attachments on them. The only real change is that you can't put on 2 primaries at the same time, as you can see when I'm trying to put on a shotgun and an AR. But it shouldn't be that much of a problem, right? Well, they also limited the amount of items you can have in your arsenal, such as not letting me carry more than 1 medkit, which might provide an issue, but you can also regenerate mid-fight, so it's not that big of a deal. The deposit, as different as it may look, the objectives are pretty much the exact same. There's still the thermite plan. The only difference is that your escape route in Loud is just going through a garage instead of burning another hole with a convenient motorcycle spree there. There is still the option to drill the sensors, as hinted with the challenges. The difficulties still add a few extra challenges as you go up. For example, this door in Rookie difficulty, you can easily access this door, which allows you to get your disguise really easily. But if we go into Operative difficulty, you'll notice there's a keycard scanner next to it, blocking off an easy way to completing a deposit. Then, from Operative to Legend, there's this door you can drill to easily get to the disguise room, which is nice and all. Except that door in Legend is, it's a little laced, I like to call it, because there's now an alarm system, so when you open that door, there's now an alarm that plays, which you might need to respec your skills a little to fix that issue, but it's not really a big deal. That is pretty much all I could say that Freelancer's Cut has kept from Entry Point. I like that the remake still has the Entry Point charm to it, despite the map and the gameplay being a little more different than usual. It still feels like I'm playing on a deposit, which is great. Basing off my experience of playing with others though, I like the potential that the future missions will have when it comes to giving everyone a role to do, solely because of how diverse the skill tree can be in terms of who can do what tasks, which is really cool. You can have a guy be a hacker, have another guy do negotiations, or a guy who can do the rewiring for you. The potential for fun missions with friends is high, and I really like that. Kinda makes you feel like an actual team of operators instead of being 4 Agent 47s. From what I've experienced, I've noticed the seed seems to stay the exact same when you replay a mission on Rookie or Operative difficulty. So it's cool to make those missions easy for those who like to study AI pathfinding patterns. But this doesn't apply to Legend, as the NPCs do not follow their same pattern, which is fine with me because I'd like to adapt to NPCs not being in places they shouldn't be in. Challenges are really a great addition to the game, as it is incentive to actually go back into the lower difficulties because you need credibility for your progression. But you could also just straight up buy them to not do specific challenges if you want to. Glad that there's more replayability options. I kinda like the safe house, I won't lie. It's cool to walk around a place that you know is your home, and friends can appear if they're on the game with you, which is cool. The most important part though, the gameplay. I like it a lot. It's different enough from Entry Point, but not a bad difference. I appreciate having more options in proceeding with a mission, and I'm excited to explore more builds as the game develops. I really do look forward to seeing how Sea Shuttle translates operator gameplay into the old Entry Point levels. I'm especially excited to see what the finance will be like. On to what I dislike about the remake though. I gotta be real honest guys, as much as it sounds like I was paid to say this, I don't really have much to point out that isn't nitpicky. But to be fair, these are my initial thoughts, and I haven't explored that far into the game yet. The only real nitpick I got is the fact it's a little harder to knock people, or the fact I can't just easily get a disguise, but these are really just nitpicks and more of a skill issue on my end. However, the paywall to play the game is definitely something to dislike, but that's just because it's a little harder for me to get friends on this game. Thankfully, this isn't that much of an issue at all because the original Entry Point and the Operators demo are free to play, so they can see if they like the gameplay before dropping 400 Robux onto the remake of Entry Point. So at least there's ways to try the gameplay for free, which is nice. Now here comes my verdict on the remake. The remake itself is definitely a 10 out of 10. It still feels like I'm playing the old Entry Point, and it's fun to play back the old missions, but with new gameplay added to them. And especially fun to go back to them to complete a few difficult challenges, especially when you get a reward for it. The game itself at the moment though, it's a rough 7 to 8 out of 10 for me. But this is very early to say because we only have one playable mission at the moment, so it's not exactly fair to judge the game at its current state right now. But just know this, the game will definitely be better because there's more missions to play around, and it's going to be more fun to mess around with friends. Should you get the game though? It really depends on what kind of player you are in my opinion. I'd suggest trying out the old Entry Point and Operators demo to help with your decision of buying Freelancer's Cut. However, if you are an old veteran of Entry Point and was a really big fan of the series, I suggest getting the remake because it definitely brings back the memories you had when over half the missions weren't even in the game. That is it for my so-called initial thoughts. Thank you for skipping through the video. Have a great day.